stood in the darkness of his ship and looked at the hologram in front of him. The blue light showed the face of a young human woman. Her name was. She was a lieutenant in the human military. She worked on Orbital Base 7, a small space station near the edge of human territory. The contract was simple: kill the human, take proof, get paid. Had killed many beings in his long career. He was a species known across the galaxy for their natural ability to teleport short distances. His people could bend space itself. They could disappear from one place and appear in another in less than a heartbeat. This made them perfect assassins. He had killed warriors from the Thorn Empire. He had killed politicians from the Crystal Worlds. He had even killed a general from the Iron Fleet. All of them were stronger than humans. All of them had better technology. All of them were dead now. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only been traveling among the stars for about 200 years. Most species did not take them seriously. They were soft. They were slow. They had no natural weapons like claws or venom. They could not read minds like They could not see in the dark like They were, by all measurements, one of the weakest species in known space. This job would be easy. Too easy, perhaps. Almost felt insulted that someone had hired him for such a simple task. But the payment was good, and he never refused good payment. He studied the information about his target again. Lieutenant was 28 years old in human years. She was born on Earth, in a region called Korea. She had joined the military at 18 and had served on various ships and stations since then. Her current assignment was security officer on Orbital Base 7. The base was small. It had only about 300 people living on it. Most of them were scientists studying a nearby nebula. The security team was tiny, maybe 20 soldiers at most. They had basic weapons and basic training, nothing that could stop an assassin. Smiled. His teeth were sharp and black like all teeth. His skin was pale gray and his eyes were large and yellow. He looked like a nightmare to most species. He enjoyed that. His ship moved slowly toward the station. He had disabled all signals that could identify him. To anyone watching, his ship looked like a piece of space debris. Nothing important, nothing dangerous. He thought about how he would do it. The easiest way would be to teleport directly into her room while she slept. One quick cut across her throat. She would not even wake up. She would simply stop breathing and die in her bed. Clean, professional. But something made him pause. He looked at the hologram again. The human woman had dark eyes and black hair. Her face was calm in the picture. She was not smiling, but she did not look angry either. She looked aware, like she was paying attention to something others could not see. Shook his head. He was being foolish. Humans were prey animals. They had spent their entire evolution running from predators on their home world. They were good at running and hiding. That was all. They were not threats. His ship attached to the station quietly. He used a special device to cut through the outer wall without triggering any alarms. The hole was small, just big enough for him to fit through. He sealed it behind him so the air would not escape. Now he was inside Orbital Base 7. The corridors were dim. It was the night cycle on the station and most of the crew was sleeping. The lights were low to save energy. This was perfect for. He could see well in low light. Humans could not. He moved through the station like a shadow. His feet made no sound. His gray skin blended with the metal walls. He passed sleeping quarters, laboratories, and storage rooms. No one saw him. No one knew he was there. He found the security section of the station. This was where would be. According to his information, she liked to work late. She often stayed in her office long after others had gone to sleep. She was dedicated to her job, respected that in a way. It was a shame she had to die. He stopped outside her office door. He could hear movement inside. She was there. She was alone. Prepared himself. He felt the familiar pull of his teleportation ability building inside him. It felt like pressure behind his eyes, like energy gathering in his bones. He focused on the space directly behind the human woman. He would appear there, and before she could turn around, his blade would end her life. He had done this hundreds of times. It always worked. The target never had time to react. By the time they realized something was wrong, they were already dead. He activated his ability. The world bent around him, colors twisted, space folded. For a brief moment, he existed nowhere and everywhere at once. Then reality snapped back into place, and he was standing in the office. He was directly behind. She was sitting at her desk, her back to him. She was looking at a screen showing security reports. She had not moved. She had not turned. She had no idea he was there. Raised his blade. It was a beautiful weapon made of black metal that never lost its edge. It had killed so many. It would kill one more tonight. His arm began to swing down toward her neck. And then something impossible happened. Cold metal pressed against his throat, hard and sharp. A blade. Someone was holding a blade to his throat. But that could not be right. He was behind her. She was still sitting in her chair. She had not moved. She had not turned around. Yet there was definitely a knife at his throat. Froze. His mind tried to understand what was happening. His eyes looked down and saw a human hand holding the knife. The hand was connected to an arm that reached back over the chair. She had not turned around. She had not looked. She had simply reached back at the exact moment he appeared and put her knife exactly where his throat would be. That was impossible. No one could react that fast. No one could know exactly where it would appear. Not even telepaths could do that because teleportation happened faster than thought. The human woman spoke. Her voice was calm and quiet. "I was wondering when you would come," she said. Could not speak. The blade was too close to his throat. If he moved even slightly, he would cut himself. The woman still had not turned around. She was still looking at her screen. But her arm was bent back at an angle that should have been uncomfortable, holding the knife perfectly steady against his neck. "Your people think you are invisible," she continued. "You think because you can teleport, no one can stop you. You think humans are weak because we have no special powers." She finally turned her head. Her dark eyes met his yellow ones. There was no fear in her eyes. There was no surprise. There was only the calm look of a predator who had caught her prey. "You are wrong," she said. "We have something your people will never understand. We have instinct." Did not understand what she meant. But as he stood there with a blade at his throat, held by a human who had somehow known exactly when and where he would appear, he began to feel something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear. The knife did not move. It stayed pressed against his gray throat, exactly where his main blood vessel was. One small cut there, and he would bleed out in seconds. He knew this because he had killed many beings the same way. Still sat in her chair. Her body was relaxed. Only her arm was tense, holding the blade with perfect control. She did not seem worried. She did not seem excited. She looked like someone who was doing a normal, everyday task. "Drop your weapon," she said. His fingers opened. His beautiful black blade fell to the floor with a soft sound. He had never dropped his weapon before. He had never been forced to. But right now, he had no choice. "Good," said. "Now we are going to talk." She stood up slowly, keeping the knife at his throat the whole time. She moved around him until she was facing him directly. Now he could see her clearly. She was shorter than him. She was thinner than him. By every physical measurement, he should be stronger than her. But she was the one holding the knife. "How?" asked. His voice was rough. "How did you know?" Studied his face. Her dark eyes moved over his features like she was reading a book. "I felt you," she said simply. "That is not possible. I make no sound. I leave no trace. Even telepaths cannot sense teleportation before it happens." "I know," said. "Your file says you have killed 3 telepaths. They never saw you coming, but I am not a telepath." "Then what are you?" Smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight curve of her lips. I am human, she said. That is all. Did not understand. He had studied humans before this mission. He knew their biology. He knew their limitations. They had no special senses. They could not see ultraviolet light like the. They could not hear subsonic sounds like the. They could not sense electromagnetic fields like his own people. They were blind and deaf compared to most species. You lie, he said. Humans have no such ability. Your species is ordinary. Laughed softly. The sound was strange too. He had not expected her to laugh. Ordinary, she repeated. Yes, that is what everyone thinks. That is why you came here alone. That is why you thought this would be easy. She pressed the knife a little harder. A thin line of purple blood appeared on his gray skin. Let me tell you something about humans, she said. Something your files do not contain. Stayed very still. He was listening. On our home world, we were not the strongest animals, began. We were not the fastest. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor. We were soft and slow, just like you said. Other animals should have eaten us all. But they did not, said. No, they did not. Do you know why? Shook his head slightly, careful not to move too much. Because we could feel them, said. Even when we could not see them or hear them, we knew they were there. We called it instinct. We called it the sixth sense. We called it the feeling of being watched. His yellow eyes widened. He had heard of this. Some species had similar abilities, but they were always connected to some physical sense. Heat detection, air pressure changes, chemical signals. There was always a scientific explanation. Your scientists have studied us, continued. They found nothing, no special organ, no unique brain structure, nothing that explains how we know when danger is near. They decided it was just superstition. They decided we were imagining things. She leaned closer. Her face was now very near his. They were wrong. Felt sweat forming on his skin. Did not sweat often. It only happened when they were very afraid or very sick. Right now, he was very afraid. I felt you the moment you entered this station, said. I felt you moving through the corridors. I felt you stop outside my door. And I felt you appear behind me in the exact spot where you are standing now. That is impossible, whispered. So is teleportation, replied. Yet here you are. She stepped back but kept the knife pointed at him. Now you are going to answer my questions. First, who hired you? Thought about refusing. He had never revealed a client before. It was against his code. But then he looked at the knife, and he looked at the woman holding it, and he realized something important. He was not in control anymore. I do not know their name, he said. The contract came through a third party, someone on the mining colony of 4. They paid half in advance. The rest would come after the job was done. How much? 50,000 galactic credits. Raised an eyebrow. That is a lot of money for a simple human soldier. I thought the same thing, admitted. But I did not ask questions. I never ask questions. Maybe you should start. Walked to her desk and pressed a button. A light on the wall turned from green to red. I have just locked this room, she said. No one can enter without my permission. No alarms will sound. We have privacy. She sat on the edge of her desk and looked at him. The knife was still in her hand, but it was no longer pointed at him. She was confident. She knew he would not attack. And she was right, had no desire to attack her. Something had changed inside him during the last few minutes. The predator had become the prey. He understood that now. What do you want? He asked. Information, said. Someone wants me dead. I want to know why. You are going to help me find out. And if I refuse? Tilted her head. Then I will kill you and I will find another way, but I think you will help me. Do you know why? Waited. Because you are curious, said. I saw it in your eyes when I caught you. You do not understand how I did it. You want to understand. And the only way to understand is to stay alive and learn. She was right. Hated that she was right. He was curious. In all his years as an assassin, he had never encountered anything like this. A target who knew he was coming before he arrived. A human who could sense danger like no other species could. He wanted to understand. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. Smiled again. This time the smile was wider. "First, you are going to tell me everything about the contract, every detail, every message, every piece of information you received. Then we are going to find out who wants me dead. And then we are going to visit them," said. Her voice was calm, but there was something dangerous underneath, something cold. "And I am going to ask them some questions." Looked at this small human woman, sitting on her desk with a knife in her hand, planning to hunt down people who had tried to kill her. He had seen many warriors in his life. He had killed many warriors. But he had never seen anything like her. "You are strange," he said, "even for a human." Shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe all humans are like this. Maybe you just never gave us a chance to show you." She stood up and walked to a cabinet in the corner of the room. She opened it and took out a bottle and 2 glasses. She poured a brown liquid into both glasses and offered one too. "What is this?" he asked. "It is called whiskey. It is a human drink. We make it from plants." Took the glass carefully. He sniffed the liquid. It smelled strong and sharp. "Is it poison?" Laughed. "To you, probably not. To us, a little bit. That is why we like it." She raised her glass. "To new partnerships," she said. Looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly he raised his own glass. "To new partnerships," he repeated. He drank the whiskey. It burned his throat in a way that was almost pleasant. As he swallowed, he realized something strange. He was no longer afraid. He was interested. For the first time in many years, the assassin had found something more valuable than a contract. He had found a mystery, and he was going to solve it. Even if it meant working with the most dangerous human he had ever met. 3 days passed on Orbital Base 7. During this time, stayed hidden in a storage room near his office. No one knew he was there. No one knew that an assassin was living on their station. Brought him food and water twice a day. She also brought information. Together, they studied every detail of the contract that had been placed on her life. The trail led to strange places. The money came from a hidden account on 4, just as it said. But when they traced the account further, they found connections to a larger organization. This organization had no name. It existed in shadows, moving money and information across the galaxy without anyone noticing. "Someone powerful wants you dead," said one evening. He was sitting on a box of spare parts looking at a data screen. "This is not a personal matter. This is political." Nodded. She was sitting across from him, reading her own screen. "I know. The question is why. I am just a security officer on a small station. I have no important information. I have no special skills. I am nobody." "You are not nobody," said. He looked at her with his large yellow eyes. "You caught me. In all my years, no one has ever done that. If you can do it, perhaps other humans can too." Was quiet for a moment. She had been thinking about this since the night appeared in her office. Why had she been able to sense him? She had felt things before, of course. Every human had moments when they knew something was wrong before they saw the danger, but this was different. This was stronger. "Tell me about your childhood," said suddenly. Looked at him with surprise. "Why?" "Because I want to understand. On my world, we train for years to develop our abilities. We practice teleportation until it becomes natural. Perhaps your ability is similar. Perhaps it was trained, not born." Thought about her past. She remembered growing up in a small city in Korea. Her father was a police officer. Her mother was a doctor. They were normal people with normal lives. But there was one thing that was not normal. "My grandmother," said slowly, "she used to tell me stories." "What kind of stories?" "Old stories. Stories about spirits and ghosts and things that lived in the dark. She said our family had a gift. She said we could feel things that others could not feel. Leaned forward, go on. I thought she was just telling fairy tales, children's stories to make me behave. She would say things like, always trust your feelings. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Do not wait to see the danger, feel it first. Did you believe her? Shook her head. No, not then. I was young and I thought I knew everything. I thought science could explain all things. I thought feelings were just chemicals in the brain. And now? Looked at, now I am not so sure. She stood up and walked to the small window in the storage room. Outside, she could see the stars and the purple glow of the nebula that the scientists were studying. It was beautiful and strange, just like everything in the galaxy. When I was 16, something happened, she said. I was walking home from school. It was late afternoon. The streets were full of people. Everything was normal. She paused, remembering. Then I felt it, a coldness in my stomach, a tightness in my chest. Something was wrong. I did not know what, but I knew I had to move. So I stepped to the side into a doorway. What happened? A car came around the corner. It was going too fast. The driver had lost control. It jumped onto the sidewalk and hit the wall exactly where I had been standing 1 second before. His eyes widened slightly. You sensed the car before you could see it. Yes, there was no way I could have known. It was around a corner. It was making no sound that I could hear over the crowd, but I felt it. I felt the danger coming. That is remarkable. After that, I started paying more attention to my feelings. I noticed that I could often sense things before they happened. Not the future exactly, not like seeing tomorrow, but I could feel when something bad was about to happen, like a warning bell in my mind. She turned back to face. When I joined the military, I became very good at my job. I always knew when an attack was coming. I always knew when someone was lying. I always knew when something was wrong with a situation. Your commanders must have noticed. They did. They ran tests on me, medical tests, psychological tests. They found nothing unusual. My brain was normal. My body was normal. They decided I was just very good at reading people, very observant, very careful. But that was not the truth. No, agreed. The truth is stranger than that. The truth is that I can feel danger like other people feel heat or cold. It is not a thought. It is not a guess. It is a sense, as real as sight or hearing. Was silent for a long time. He was thinking about everything had told him. In his culture, abilities like teleportation were understood. They had been studied for thousands of years. Scientists knew exactly how they worked, which parts of the brain controlled them, which genes passed them from parent to child. But this human ability was different. It had no scientific explanation. It could not be measured or tested. It simply existed, hidden inside their bodies, waiting to be used. Perhaps all humans have this, said finally. Perhaps it is just stronger in some than others. That is what I think, said. My grandmother said our family line had this gift for many generations, but I believe all humans have it to some degree. We just forgot how to use it. Because you developed technology. Nodded, yes. We built machines to protect us, cameras to watch for danger, alarms to warn us of problems. We stopped listening to our instincts because we thought we did not need them anymore. But the instincts are still there. Yes, they are still there, sleeping inside us, waiting. Stood up and walked to stand beside at the window. They both looked out at the stars. For a moment, they were not assassin and target. They were just two beings trying to understand a mystery. This is why someone wants you dead, said quietly. You have proven that this human ability is real. If others learn what you can do, they will try to develop it. They will train their soldiers to sense danger like you can. And that would change everything, said. Imagine an army of humans who can feel an attack before it comes. No ambush would work. No surprise assault would succeed. No assassin could get close enough to kill. The other species would not like that. No, they would not. Turn to face directly. Someone in the galaxy knows what I can do. Someone understands what it means, and they are afraid of what will happen if other humans learn to do the same thing. So they sent me to kill you, said, to stop the knowledge from spreading. Yes. Thought about this. He had been hired to kill a woman because she represented a threat to the entire galactic order, because her ability could change the balance of power between species, because humans might become something more than weak, soft creatures from a small blue planet. What will you do? He asked. Smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had made a decision and would not turn back. I will find who sent you, she said, and I will show them that they should have been more afraid, much more afraid. Looked at this human woman with new eyes. She was small and she was soft, and she had no special powers that anyone could measure. But inside her was something ancient and powerful, something that had kept her species alive through millions of years of danger. And now that something was about to wake up. The ship moved through space like a ghost. It had no official registration. It carried no identification signals. To anyone who scanned it, it would appear as nothing more than space debris floating through the void. Inside the ship, and sat in the small cockpit. They had left orbital base 3 days ago, had told her commanders that she was taking leave time. She had not told them where she was going or why. Now they were heading toward a place called the Shadow Market. It was a space station hidden in an asteroid field, far from any official patrol routes. Criminals used it to buy and sell things that were not allowed in normal space. Weapons, drugs, information, contracts for murder. This was where had received his contract. This was where they would find their first answers. Are you certain about this? Asked. He was flying the ship, his gray hands moving across the controls with practiced skill. The Shadow Market is dangerous, even for me. Sat in the co-pilot seat, checking her weapons. She had brought 2 knives and a small energy pistol. It was not much, but she did not like to carry too many weapons. They slowed her down. I am certain, she said. We need to find the person who gave you the contract. They will know who hired them. And if they refuse to tell us. Looked at him with her calm, dark eyes. They will tell us. Did not argue. He had seen what could do. He had been on the receiving end of her abilities. He believed that she could make anyone talk. The asteroid field appeared on their sensors. It was a mess of rocks floating in the darkness, ranging from pebbles to mountains. Somewhere inside this field was the Shadow Market. Guided the ship carefully through the asteroids. One wrong move would smash them against a rock and end their mission before it began. But he was a good pilot. He had done this many times. After an hour of careful flying, they saw it. The Shadow Market was built inside a massive asteroid, hollowed out over many years by machines and workers. Lights glowed from openings cut into the rock. Ships of all sizes were docked to metal platforms extending from the asteroid's surface. We are here, said. They docked their ship and stepped out into the station. The air was thin and smelled like metal and smoke. The corridors were crowded with beings from dozens of species. Some were humanoid, others were not. A creature with 6 arms sold weapons from a cart. A being made entirely of crystals offered information for the right price. 2 massive warriors with red skin argued about the price of a stolen ship. No one looked at and twice. In the Shadow Market, everyone minded their own business. Questions got you killed. Led the way through the crowd. He knew where they needed to go. The contract broker worked in a section called the Deep Level, at the very center of the asteroid. It was the most secure area of the station, protected by guards and scanners and traps. As they walked, felt something strange. The feeling of being watched grew stronger with every step, not from one direction but from many. Eyes were on her. She could not see them, but she could feel them. We are being followed, she said quietly. did not look around. He had learned to trust senses. How many? 4, maybe 5. They are staying back, but they are tracking us. Do you think they know who we are? I think they know who you are, said. You disappeared after taking a contract. The broker might think you failed or ran away with the advance payment. They might want to have a conversation with you. Cursed under his breath, this complicates things. It does not matter. We continue as planned. If they try to stop us, we deal with them. They reached the entrance to the deep level. 2 guards stood there, both from a species did not recognize. They were tall and covered in thick scales. Their eyes were small and black, like chips of coal pressed into their faces. Business, one of them asked. We need to see, said. I have unfinished work with him. The guard looked at for a long moment. Then his small eyes moved too. The human waits here. Only known clients go inside. She comes with me, said. She is part of the unfinished work. The guards looked at each other. Then the one who had spoken shrugged. Your funeral, he said. He stepped aside to let them pass. The deep level was quieter than the rest of the station. The corridors were cleaner. The lighting was better. This was where the real business happened, the serious business. They found his office at the end of a long hallway. The door was metal and had no handle. A scanner beside it glowed red. Placed his hand on the scanner. It turned green and the door slid open. Inside was a large room filled with screens and machines. In the center of the room sat a creature that looked like a massive spider made of metal. Its body was chrome and black, and its many legs clicked against the floor as it moved. Its face, if it could be called a face, had no mouth. Communication came from a speaker built into its chest. The speaker said, the voice was flat and mechanical. You are alive, I am surprised. Replied, we need to talk. Yes, we do. The metal spider moved closer. Its many eyes, glowing red sensors, focused on. You brought the target. Interesting. Is she a gift? An apology for failing the contract? The contract is terminated, said. I am not going to complete it. Silence filled the room. Sensors flickered. That is not how this works. You took payment. You do the job. That is the rule. The rules have changed. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was a harsh, grinding noise. You think you can just walk away. You think there are no consequences. I think, said, speaking for the first time, that you are going to answer some questions, and then we are going to leave, and you are going to forget you ever saw us. Sensors all turned toward her. The human speaks. How amusing. Do you know where you are, little creature? Do you know what I can do to you? Yes, said, and I do not care. She stepped forward. As she did, she felt the beings behind her, the ones who had been following them. They had entered the room. She counted them without looking. 5, just as she had thought. They were spread out, blocking the exit. You have courage, said. I respect that, but courage will not save you here. I do not need saving, said. I need information. Who hired you to put the contract on me? Who wants me dead? Was quiet for a moment. The metal spider studied her with its many red eyes. Why would I tell you that? Client information is private. It is the foundation of my business. Because if you do not tell me, I will hurt you. And then I will hurt everyone in this room. And then I will find the information myself. More grinding laughter. You hurt me. I am made of metal. I feel no pain. I fear no death. Your threats mean nothing. Smiled. It was a cold smile. The smile of someone who knew something that others did not. Then let me show you something, she said. She closed her eyes. She reached inside herself to the place where the feeling lived, the sense of danger, the awareness of threat. She had spent her whole life receiving warnings from this part of herself, but in the last few days she had learned something new. She could send too. She pushed outward, not a physical push but something else, a wave of feeling, a projection of threat, the sensation of being prey when a predator is near. The effect was immediate. The 5 beings behind her gasped and stepped backward. Their hands went to their weapons, but they did not draw them. Their eyes were wide. Their bodies were shaking. Metal legs clicked rapidly against the floor. The spider creature actually retreated, pushing itself back against the wall. Its sensors flickered wildly. "What is this?" His mechanical voice was different now. Higher, faster, something had changed. "What are you doing?" Opened her eyes. "I am reminding you what it feels like to be hunted. Your people forgot this feeling long ago. But deep inside your brain, in the oldest part, the memory remains. The memory of being small and weak and afraid." She stepped closer to, "Tell me who hired you, or I will make this feeling stronger. I will make it so strong that you will never sleep again. Every moment of your existence you will feel the hunter behind you, watching, waiting, ready to strike." His legs were shaking now. The metal spider, the feared broker of the shadow market, was trembling like a child. Said quickly, "The contract came from a counselor. His name is. He sits on the Galactic Assembly. He paid for your death because he believes humans are a threat to his people's dominance." Nodded slowly. "Thank you," she said. "That was not so hard, was it?" She turned and walked toward the door. Followed her, his yellow eyes wide with amazement. Behind them called out one last thing. "He will know you are coming. Has spies everywhere. He will destroy you before you get close." Did not stop walking. "Let him try," she said. They left the deep level. They left the shadow market. They returned to their ship and flew away into the darkness of space. And behind them, in the hollowed-out asteroid, stories began to spread. Stories about a human woman who could make even the fearless feel fear. Stories about a new kind of predator walking among the stars. The galaxy was about to learn what Earth had always known. The quiet ones were always the most dangerous. The Galactic Assembly was the most important building in known space. It stood on a planet called Prime, at the center of civilized territory. Here, representatives from hundreds of species gathered to make laws and settle disputes. Here, the future of the galaxy was decided. Counselor stood in his private office, looking out at the city below. He was a tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. His people were known for their telepathic abilities. They could read minds, sense emotions, and communicate without speaking. For 300 years, they had been the dominant power in the galaxy. Their telepathy gave them an advantage in every negotiation, every battle, every conflict. No one could lie to them. No one could hide from them. They knew what others were thinking before they spoke. But now was worried. The reports from the shadow market had arrived that morning. The assassin had failed. The human target was alive. And worse, she was coming. Had studied the reports carefully. The human woman had done something to the contract broker. She had made him feel fear. Real, deep fear. Was a machine. He had no emotions. He felt nothing. Yet she had made him feel afraid. This was exactly what had been worried about. This was why he had ordered the assassination in the first place. Humans were developing abilities that no one understood. Abilities that could threaten dominance. Abilities that could change everything. He pressed a button on his desk. "Bring me my guards," he said, "all of them." Within minutes, 20 soldiers stood in his office. They were the best warriors money could buy. Some were. Others were from different species, hired for their strength or their skills. All of them were loyal. All of them were deadly. "A human is coming," said. "She may try to reach me. If she does, kill her." The soldiers nodded. They spread out through the building, taking positions at every entrance, every corridor, every possible approach. Himself stayed in his office, surrounded by his personal guards. He was safe. Nothing could reach him here. Hours passed. Evening came. The sky outside turned from gold to purple to black. Still nothing happened. Began to relax. Perhaps the human was not coming after all. Perhaps she had realized the foolishness of attacking a galactic counselor in the most secure building on Prime. Perhaps she had given up. He was wrong. The first sign was a message. One of his soldiers reported that another soldier had not responded to a communication check. They went to investigate and found the soldier unconscious on the floor, with no injuries visible. Then another soldier went silent, and another, and another. In the space of 30 minutes, half of his guards were down. They were not dead, they were just asleep, or unconscious, or something else that no one could explain. Panic spread through the remaining soldiers. They clustered together, watching every shadow, pointing their weapons at every doorway. The among them tried to use their telepathy to find the intruder. They found nothing. This was impossible, could sense any thinking mind within 100 meters. No one could hide from their mental awareness. No one. Except it seemed this human. Retreated to the innermost part of his office. He locked the door behind him. He activated every security system he had. Shields went up. Alarms prepared to sound. Traps armed themselves. He sat behind his desk and waited. The lights went out. His heart began to beat faster. In the darkness, he could see nothing. He reached for his weapon, a small energy pistol that he always kept close. Something touched his throat. Cold, sharp metal. "Do not move," a voice said, a woman's voice, calm and quiet like a whisper in the dark. Froze, his pistol was still in his hand, but he did not dare raise it. The knife at his throat was very close to his skin. "How?" he asked. His voice was shaking. "How did you get past my guards? How did you hide from the telepaths?" "I did not hide," the voice said. "I was never hidden, you just could not see me." The lights came back on, blinked against the sudden brightness. A human woman stood behind him. She was young and small, with dark hair and calm eyes. In one hand she held a knife to his throat. In the other she held his energy pistol, which she had somehow taken from his grip without him noticing. "You sent an assassin to kill me," said. "I want to know why." Tried to use his telepathy. He reached out with his mind, trying to read her thoughts, trying to understand her intentions. But there was nothing there. Not emptiness. Something worse. A wall of feeling so powerful that it pushed his telepathy away like a wave pushing away a small boat. "You are blocking me," he said with amazement. "Yes, your mind tricks do not work on me." "That is impossible. No species can block telepathy." Leaned closer. "Humans can. We do not do it with power or technology. We do it with something older, something you have forgotten." "What?" "Instinct," said. "The same thing that told me your assassin was coming. The same thing that let me feel your guards before I saw them. The same thing that knows when a mind is trying to invade mine." She pressed the knife slightly harder. "Now answer my question. Why did you want me dead?" Closed his eyes. He understood now. He understood everything, and he knew that he had made a terrible mistake. "Because I saw what you could become," he said. "Years ago we intercepted human military reports. They mentioned soldiers with unusual awareness, soldiers who could sense danger before it arrived. We investigated. We found you. And you were afraid." "Yes, the advantage has always been our telepathy. No one can hide their thoughts from us. No one can surprise us. This is why we are powerful. This is why we lead the galaxy." He opened his eyes and looked at her. "But your ability is different. It does not read thoughts. It senses threat. It cannot be blocked or fooled. And if humans learn to develop it fully, to train it, to strengthen it, then we'll no longer be special." Finished. "Then everything will change," said. "The balance of power, the structure of alliances, the entire galactic order." Was quiet for a moment. She thought about what he said. He was right, in a way. If humans could truly develop their instincts, if they could train themselves to sense danger like she could, it would change everything. They would no longer be the weak newcomers that other species dismissed. They would become something else entirely. "You made a mistake," she said finally. "By trying to kill me, you only drew attention to what I can do, will tell others about me. The people on the shadow market will tell stories. The galaxy will hear about the human who cannot be surprised, who cannot be ambushed, who feels danger before it arrives. Nodded slowly. Yes, I see that now. And do you know what will happen then? Humans will learn. They will remember their instincts. They will become dangerous. Exactly, smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was the smile of someone who had accepted a new truth about herself and her people. She stepped back and removed the knife from his throat. I am not going to kill you, counselor. Death would make you a victim. I want you to live. I want you to watch what happens next. Rubbed his throat. What will you do? I will go home, said, and I will teach. I will find others like me, humans who have felt the instinct but never understood it. I will show them what they can do, what we all can do. She walked toward the door, was waiting outside, his gray face showing a rare smile. Paused at the doorway, she looked back at one last time. Tell the other species, she said. Tell them that the age of hunting humans is over. Tell them that we remember what we are. And tell them this most important thing. She stepped into the hallway. Tell them that we are not prey. We never were. We were always the predators, pretending to be something else. The door closed behind her. Sat alone in his office for a long time. He thought about what had happened. He thought about what it meant. And he realized with absolute certainty that the galaxy would never be the same. In the years that followed, the story spread. The story of the human who caught an assassin before he struck. The story of the woman who made a fearless machine feel fear. The story of the species that had slept for centuries but was now awake. Humans called it the awakening. They began training their ancient instincts, learning to listen to the feelings that had protected them for millions of years. They became watchful and aware and impossible to surprise. And the other species learned a lesson they would never forget. The most dangerous creatures in the galaxy were not the ones with the biggest weapons or the strongest powers. They were the ones who always knew you were coming. Long before you arrived.